welcome along to the Invincible podcast with my man Lee Judges in the building, and Julian is here as well. This episode of the Invincible podcast is brought to you today by Emma Sleep. With our special code, you can get an extra 5% off their Easter sale, which is currently on with up to 40% off their products. And then you get an extra 5% off, remember. This sofa bed from Emma Sleep comes with an inbuilt Emma mattress, which allows you to go from sit to sleep in just 10 seconds.
Graham,
to break it down.
not in a 3-2-5, more in a 2-3-5. But just look at where Jorginho is.
Also, Emma Sleep is the one-stop shop for all of your shop needs. They don't just do sofa beds, but they do mattresses, toppers, duvets, all of that. And don't worry, it has a 200-night trial and a 2-year guarantee. They also give you free deliveries and returns as well. And I know, Julian, you like a free delivery, innit? Everything free.
Well, I'd like
you
a free
that?
bed as well, but...
You want a free bed? You're getting 40% off. That's an extra 5%.
That's 45%.
There you go.
Yeah.
What more do you want?
No, nothing more. That would be absolutely fine.
Anyway, listen, great to have you guys on board again for another episode. I thought what we discussed today, let's take a look back at, the game the other night. That was brilliant. Great performance again by Arsenal. But coming up, it's a big weekend. Arsenal, Brentford, right? At home. All the pundits, everybody out there is thinking, we'll get that job done. It's the Premier League, we'll be cautious. But if we do win that, on Sunday, we'll be kicking back, relaxing, a little drink in our hand, looking at Liverpool and Man City who play each other. That means they're going to drop points. One of those two teams are going to drop points. And I want to ask you guys later on, what's the best scenario for you in that game? What do you want to happen in that Liverpool versus Man City game? And also we're going to look ahead to a big Champions League game. This is a big sort of, next 5-6 days for Arsenal, because that game against Porto is absolutely massive as well. Porto hitting a bit of form as well, right? So, I remember Julian described them as Burnley, but this is a serious game. So
forget that.
Big games coming up. But first of all, let's start off. What a performance it was. I know Sheffield United, as Julian reminded us on the night, a rock bottom. I know they've been poor, as Julian reminded us. You don't want us to end up going to Sheffield again. I know we're not going to go there next season.
We are going to be going there.
We won't be going there next season. But the way we ain't going to be able to go nowhere soon.
No, we're running out of options.
We're running out of options, man.
Yeah, but it's different between being sort of the Arsenal manager. When I look at what Arteta said before the game and after the game, even after the game, he still described it as a difficult place to go. Which to me was ludicrous. When you say it normally is, that was the old Arsenal. I mean, up to a few seasons ago, we'd go to these kind of places and get bullied. It wasn't about who the most skillful team was, who had the best tactics. Arsenal would go to these types of grounds and get bullied out of it. And maybe if we did win, it would be by 1 goal. But quite often, we'd lose by 1 goal or draw. And that Arsenal team is a team of the past. We don't get bullied anymore. Not only are we technically superior, have a better manager with better tactics, but we're physically more imposing than the other side.
No, and you're right, but there's a thing called being humble. And that's why Arteta didn't come after at the end of the press conference, we smashed them to bits, they're rubbish or whatever. It's got to be,
Yeah, and I understand that. And what Arteta said before the game and after the game is exactly what you would expect from a class manager. But as a fan, I'm not a manager, and I can go there and gloat, and I can go there and enjoy it, and I can go there and say things that a manager and a professional can't say. And
did you used to say those things when you was manager of the? Because you told us last week, when you got your Clubman of the Year, right? That you got those medals because you were the manager. When you was manager, did you used to gloat as well?
Yeah, I think you adapt to the position you're in. And maybe as manager of a Maccabi League Division 3 side is slightly different from Mikel Arteta. And Mikel Arteta showed class, but what was he actually thinking? What he said and what he thought, was that, was that exactly what he was thinking, what he said?
Yeah.
Because I don't think so. It wasn't just a case of we beat them, we annihilated them, and for however good we were, they were very, very poor.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Lee, I personally think that Arsenal in that game, if they really wanted to, could have got about 8 to 10 goals. I think in the second half, Mikel Arteta said to them, you know what, just go out there, keep a clean sheet. We've got, we've already scored 5 goals, keep a clean sheet, and I'm going to make some changes, which he did. It was good because he was able to make changes and stuff like that. Yeah. But it was such a commanding performance, wasn't it?
Unbelievable first half, and it's natural to conserve energy for the next game. I said to Julian, then I said, half time, I said, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up 5-6-0. Because
you're absolutely correct.
Yeah, because I just think that it just, they make changes, and then also you don't want to get injured for the next game, and also as a player, your mind is then getting on to the next game because your job is done on that one. But a lot of what Julian says there, I agree with. We don't get bullied so much now. But when you look back at the Premier League and look back, even great sides, they might get 1-6-0 or a 5-0 or 2 along the way, but to get 3 in consecutive away games, it's unprecedented. I've not seen it before. I can't remember Arsenal. Well, certainly Arsenal haven't done it before. I don't really remember other teams doing it. I might be wrong.
It's unbelievable.
We're in a phase of football at the moment which is,
it's unprecedented.
Unprecedented. And Julian was saying, I want 7-8 in this game, and this is, by the way, after we've beaten West Ham. And we was having a little bit of a laugh about it because, I was there for the record-breaking one of West Ham. You could wait 10 years, or he's had to wait 3 weeks to at least equal it.
We should have beaten it, shouldn't we?
We should have beaten it, really. We had some good chances. We could have beaten West Ham by more, And what is good about that, and I agree with it. Mikel Arteta can't go in the dressing room and say, lads, they're bottom of the league. We're just turn up and we're going to romp them. What I mean? Everything he says on the camera and all that, is for the fact, but it's also for the players. You know what I mean? To tell them, they're watching. This is going to be a tough game. This is going to be hard. So it's all designed to make sure that those 11 players that go out there ain't complacent on the day and make sure they get the job done. I agree with what Julian's saying. In his head, he's probably thinking, look, I know I can win this game. I know that they're good enough to do it. But I've got to make sure that those 11 players are mentally up for that game. And I tell you what, after 10 minutes, his job was done. Fantastic.
It's unbelievable what they're doing away from home. It's funny because I was chatting to a Liverpool fan the other day, and he goes, he goes, you went away from home, you smashed Burnley, you smashed Sheffield United, right? He goes, you smashed West Ham, but so what? I said, hold on a minute. I go, we also smashed you as well.
Yeah.
I go, don't forget that. We smashed you, and we even scored the goal for you, and you didn't have a shot on target in the game. I go, don't forget that. So this run that Arsenal's been on, it's been unbelievable. It's like every team in the Premier League that's sort of come in front of them since they came back from Dubai, or that trip, right, has just been getting wasted. And the way they're playing, the confidence levels, and the fact as well now that they've got players coming back. I mean, it was great the other night to see, Thomas Partey, who's barely played this season. He looked a bit rusty, but great to see him on the pitch. Perfect game to bring him back into. Jesus, Fabio Vieira. All of a sudden now, the bench is looking stronger. Then Zinchenko and Tomiyasu set to come back as well. All of a sudden, the team is looking really strong. If we can keep that together between now and the end of the season, and keep that confidence going, and it doesn't look like those players are sort of, that level is dropping. Some of the pressing, I think people don't look at those things, but they might just look and think, Sheffield United, they were extremely poor, which they were. But they were forced into mistake after mistake by Arsenal's relentless pressing and pressure. And a player, we all know, Odegaard's brilliant in that. A player that I think needs to be singled out for some praise from Monday's game, right, is Kai Havertz.
Unbelievable.
Scored a great goal, but his pressing and his understanding of that sort of false number 9 position is really making Arsenal a really incredible force at the moment.
It was brilliant, yes. I'll tell you what, I didn't realise, if you go back to, I think it was the first goal, his ball inside to, I think it might have been, I can't remember what one it was. He held the ball up, he plays a lovely ball into Odegaard and gets it out wide to Martinelli. It could have been Martinelli's goal. Unbelievable centre forward play, and the division to get the touch and then play that ball inside got us right on the front foot, and we was right by his touch, weren't we, for the goal for Ben White?
Yeah,
was exceptional, and I was
and his finish for the goal as well.
Finish for the goal was fantastic. But the one thing I'm looking at him, and the one thing I feel where he's lucky, he's got a manager that just really rates him and backing him in every way. That must be a fantastic feeling to have. And now going into the business end of the season, it seems like he's getting better and better as the pressure builds up.
Yeah, and it's not only what you can see, it's what a lot of people can't see. There was something that I didn't even notice at the time, partly because it was up the other end and we had difficulty watching it. That was one of our biggest disappointments from Monday.
All the goals were up the other end.
All the goals up the other end. I don't know what it was like for you.
Got 5 of them right there, right?
Yeah, for us, we weren't sure whether it was the fact they're playing in this kit or that they're moving so fast, but it all seemed to merge into one, didn't it?
Yeah.
Or the fact we're in our 50s and we can't see so well.
We need our glasses.
It was difficult to see. But when I watched it back on television, I think it was the first goal. There was a dummy for the first goal, and it was so subtle.
Yeah.
But it just made space and it opened it up. And he may have scored anyway, but I think the Sheffield United defenders were drawn to him slightly by just a faint little move. And it gave Odegaard that much more space.
He's playing brilliantly at the moment, Havertz. There was a lot of people criticising him, when we bought him. Compare his first season to Granit Xhaka's. I know we were all saying, why did, we should have kept Xhaka. But this is his first season with Arsenal. Remember, it took Granit Xhaka about 3 seasons to get going at least, right? He's doing a really good job, Havertz.
Julian made a fantastic point a couple of weeks ago, and he doesn't make many. That's why I remember it. But he actually said, if Kai Havertz was a £30 million player, we'd be going how well he's doing. It's because the price is a lot higher that people have been a little bit more critical than what probably they should have been. And it is a very good point. Just take him on what he is, and that's what I do.
Comparing to some of the other players that have gone, that came in for big money. So I was looking, say for instance, look at Diaby at Villa. Havertz has done way better than him. I mean, I know Havertz was a little bit more expensive than him, but he was very expensive as well. Havertz has done better than the signings that the players that City have signed. Yeah. He's done better than Doku. He's done better than is it Nunes or
Nunes? Yeah,
he's
done better the same sort of money.
He's done better than those players.
But his issue is that most Arsenal fans aren't comparing him to players that haven't worked out in other teams. They're comparing him to other Arsenal players. And when you look at other Arsenal players and how much we've paid for them, we've got one of the most, I think it's one of the most expensive squads valued for today, but we didn't pay that kind of money for them. So when you compare him to what we paid for Martinelli, what we paid for Odegaard, that's what the comparison, which is unfair.
Also, the other thing is a lot of fans have sort of said, well, I'd rather have spent the money on Maddison.
But Maddison, as you know,
they're about the same on goals, right?
Yeah, you see, the thing with Maddison's a great player, right?
But he can't play that false nine.
I remember a Leicester fan saying to me,
he can't last the season.
He's always injured.
Yeah,
injury-prone player. And I started to look at it and think to myself, is that why a lot of teams didn't go in for him? Because there's so many clubs in it. Like, you had United fans saying, why didn't we get him? You had Arsenal fans saying, why didn't we get him? You had a lot, because we all know his quality. But I remember that Leicester fan said to me, he goes, Robbie, mate, he's a good player, but always injured.
Yeah.
He goes, the amount of times he's injured for us. He goes, injured after the season where we got relegated, injured the previous season, injured, you know what I mean? So he's got a poor injury record. So maybe that's why a lot of teams didn't. He is a quality player, but Havertz
has been involved in every game this season, I think someone said to me. And the other thing is, and I still state this, is that I think Maddison's a very good player, but he can only play one position.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we've got a player that can play two positions very, very well. One probably better than the other. I do think he's probably the better in that false nine than he is in the midfield. But he's still putting some good performances in midfield. So there's more value to having him in the team because he can play two, maybe even play three if you think like he can play as a deep line midfield player as well as one further forward. So I just think he's I'm going to be really honest. I've always sort of liked him. I get a little bit annoyed when people come to me saying, "Oh, you never backed Havertz and all that."
Some guy said that.
Some guy come to
Monday,
me
which wasn't true
on Monday and said that, and I've always sort of backed him.
Always sort of
and got a little bit of stick for it, like, you know. But I do see I don't know what it is, you know. It don't have to be the best player to be one of your favourite players, you know what I mean? I do see something in him that I quite like.
Got a lot of quality.
And the one thing that I did like about him more than all the quality that, when it weren't going well for him, he never shied away. And he always put his foot in there. I quite like it. He's got a little dark arts to his game.
A lot more physical than I thought.
Yeah, and I quite like that. I quite like that.
Which is one of the reasons why we're not going to places like Sheffield United and being bullied anymore.
Yeah. Well, listen, another game where we got bullied a couple of seasons ago was at Brentford. Remember that famous game where we lost the first game of the season?
But we were decimated by COVID.
We were. Since then, our record against Brentford has been very, very good. We got them coming up at the weekend. Brentford, you know, they're in relegation trouble at the moment. They're really struggling, you know what I mean? They got a decent draw last week against Chelsea, but we got them at home. We know the threats. Obviously, Ivan Toney, Wissers scored a great goal last week. But on paper, this should be another Arsenal win. I mean, Arsenal must be confident at getting the job done against them. They're defending Brentford in some of the games that I've seen over the last 4 or 5 games has been amongst the worst I've seen. They have been missing certain players. I think Ben Mee's out, you know, who's a very important player for them.
In Bomo, but I think he might be back. He's back training.
He's been out for a long time. And also Pinnock. It's more the players at the back, I think, that's where their problems lie. You know what I mean? Pinnock. So they're missing big players in their defence. This is a chance for Arsenal to get 3 points, which would then take them top of the league because our game's on Saturday at 5:30 UK time. 3 points, go top of the league, and then kick back on Sunday and wait to see what the other teams, those other 2 teams do. First thing I want to ask you guys, are you confident that we can get that win against Brentford?
Absolutely. I'm meant to say 100%, but it is the Premier League, as you keep reminding us.
They did get a draw against us, remember?
It was a dodgy goal.
It was dodgy, but the form we're in at the moment, I can't see anything other than an Arsenal win, and a big Arsenal win. And also, you talk about their defending. Specifically on crosses, they're very, very poor. Very poor. They're conceding a lot of headed goals from crosses. I think in the last 2 games they've conceded 3 goals.
Yeah, that's the lack of that Pinnock not being there.
It's not having Pinnock there. If you look over the course of the season, they've conceded 15, which is 3 more than the team in second place. So they have specific weaknesses, which Arsenal, I mean, if I've looked at it, I mean, Arsenal must have looked at it, and Arsenal have the skills to be able to exploit that massively.
So biggest game at the Emirates for a very, very long while, this.
What do you think?
Yep.
Since the last one.
No, this is Liverpool was a massive game. Liverpool was a massive game. Newcastle was a massive game. But this one here, and I'll tell you why I think this is, because all eyes are on Arsenal now. The pressure for the first time is right at our door. Can we go?
I think the pressure was.
I'll tell you why the pressure's on this game, right? Is because we go first, knowing that them 2 teams play the next day, and one of them's going to drop points. So it's important, so important that we get the job done and do it properly. Now, people keep saying to me, Brentford, you know, we should beat them. They went to the Etihad a few weeks ago, 1-0. It was a tight game. If you remember rightly, it was a mistake from the Brentford player that let them in, like, you know, when they scored. We have got. This is to me where I will look at Arsenal, and I've always said it. Forget about the Etihad in a couple of weeks' time. This is the one. We need to set it up it's like a game of snooker now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're potting the red to make sure that we're on for the black. We don't want to get ourselves snookered, so we want to get that right. Get this result done. I do think there's a little bit of pressure on this. I really do, because of that game the next day. Because if we don't get that result against Brentford, we'll be sitting there on the Sunday going, "Oh, that would have only if we won this, if we'd done that."
It's an important.
It's so important that we get the 3 points, and then when we walk away from that stadium Saturday night, we can just go. What we're going to talk about in a minute. Whatever result happens on the Sunday will benefit us. Whatever.
Yeah.
Only if we pick up the 3
big
points.
threat, of course, is Ivan Toney up front. He's been scoring goals since he's come back from the ban for the gambling misdemeanors. He's a top player. Obviously, Arsenal very interested in signing him. He's going to come there wanting to impress, to say, listen, this is what I can do. You need me. We're going to have to look after him. He's a top player.
Yeah, well, let's see how he plays against Gabriel and Saliba. And look, if he gets the better of those two, then I'd be saying let's sign him.
Great point.
Yeah, for whatever money. At the moment, I think the kind of money that they're quoting to bring him in is far too much. But if he comes to Arsenal Saturday night, and
but that's how he's going to be treated. He's going to be treated like an audition. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and look,
going back to a bit like what Lee says,
so
right? It's
I'm
a tough
looking
game.
at it open-minded, but I can't. Having looked at their game against Chelsea, you can't ignore Wissa.
I'll tell you what, it's a great point. And let's not like these beds. Sleep on Saliba and Gabriel.
Don't Emma sleep on them.
Emma sleep on Saliba and Gabriel, because they are. I'll tell you what, I know that we won 6-0. Look at their performances on Monday night.
They're desperate to keep a clean sheet.
Bernie, I know, physical sort of a guy, you know what I mean? Would it in the past cause us all sorts of problems? Had to take him off at half time. You know what I mean? Like, physically couldn't get the better of Gabriel, pace-wise couldn't get the better. So don't sleep on our.
Yeah, and also if you look at the way they play and the touches that they have, I think Saliba had more passes than any other player. And it wasn't just a case of he was playing it from the back. If you look at where he was playing those passes from,
midfield,
he was in midfield. And what they both do, they've got such confidence in their abilities that they're pressing up higher, and they're leaving. You'd think it's a dangerous tactic. They're leaving so much space behind them, but they're confident enough that if they play the opposition play the ball over into that space, they've both got immense speed as well to compensate for it. And I think sometimes you get sidetracked about how good we are up front, but it all seems to be based on the defence. And the other part of it is the goalkeeper now isn't really a goalkeeper. He doesn't have to make saves. He's playing as a sweeper, which condenses it even more.
Of course, it's Ramsdale in goal.
Ramsdale in goal,
and that'd be interesting whether that disrupts. You made a good point when Raya came into the team, that the team is used to playing with Ramsdale and it disrupts the team. Well, now the team is used to playing with Raya.
I've got my Ramsdale shirt ready for Saturday.
Yeah, and is that going to disrupt the way that we
don't know. Listen, I think everybody would say that Raya's, again, another thing where the manager's put the confidence in him, and he hasn't had to do a lot over the last few games. But what he does well. And particularly
is it because he doesn't have to do a lot, because the way that he plays, it's prevention, not cure?
Well, I think the way Arsenal play at the moment, you don't have a lot to do. And
but it's because he's playing so far forward. If you look at the kickoff against Sheffield United, I've not seen a goalkeeper so far forward. When they kicked off against Sheffield United, he was halfway.
Yeah, he plays as a sweeper keeper, doesn't he?
It was outrageous in one sense how far forward he was from the kickoff.
It'd be a real interesting one on because we actually spoke, there was a lot of talk about it in the away, and I don't know if it was where you were, that at half time was to get Ramsdale on.
I thought we should have done that as well. I thought we should have done that. I said that to Cecil. I was going, why don't we bring Ramsdale on, because he's got to play in the next game. We're 5-0 up. Give him a half to get,
A lot of people were talking about that.
Yeah, I think we should have done that.
But would that mean that we'd have then not been able to bring another player on, or is the goalkeeper an extra sub?
5-0
Yeah,
up,
but
man.
no, but it wasn't about that. What he wanted to do, Arteta, was get as much experience into
Yeah, but you can make
players.
5 subs.
Yeah, but
Right, so
he had
obviously
5
you got
people who
Ramsdale
wanted to
plus
come
4
on.
others.
Well, I think he could have. I think I see what he obviously wanted to rest Ben White. That was important for Cedric. Get Partey on, get Vieira on. But it was
That's
an
three
option for
players.
him.
He could still. He could have brought him on.
He wanted Jesus on.
Yeah,
They could have
I still think he could have done it.
sacrificed maybe put
He
some.
could have done.
I think maybe instead of the Cedric one. And got him in there, just give you a shot. But that's going to be a really interesting thing because when was the last time we played? Would have been Liverpool in the FA Cup, which was in January. So it's a long time ago. So it's a long time to just say to someone, right, you're going to come in now. And I think there's a little bit of pressure on him.
I think he'll be all right though.
I think he will be.
Especially,
I think he really
especially in the
realises
game as
now.
well. Being at home is going to help as well. And if Arsenal do the business in that game, which I'm confident we will. I've seen, as I said, the defence of Brentford. I think Arsenal will open it up. The way we've been playing, the way we've been opening up teams, I think we will. And I'm confident we'll get a win. And if we do win that game, as you guys both know, we go top of the league, at least temporarily. Then comes the game on Sunday at Anfield, Liverpool versus Manchester City. The two teams, the two other contenders, Liverpool currently top of the league, Manchester City a point back in second place with us in third place, a further 2 points back behind Liverpool. What result would you both like to see out of that game? What would be the perfect result for you?
I've thought about this so many times that the first thing you think of, right, you don't want Liverpool to win because they're ahead anyway. And the other part of it is that we've got a chance to, even if City do win the game, to be able to play City. So it kind of still keeps in our hands to an extent. And then you think, well, all right, if City win, then that's City. They never lose. It's almost like there's no right answer to that. So therefore, you don't want either of them to win. So the only rational result for an Arsenal fan is a draw because it only shares out 2 points rather than 3. But it's just simple maths because you cannot say which team you want to win because of the situation that we're in. You cannot want City to win because of the role that they're on. You cannot want Liverpool to win because then it's definitely not in our hands and they're ahead.
Yeah, the draw's the obvious one, but it's a draw or a Man City win for me.
Well, that's the other second question I'm going to ask, right? So if it's not a draw, you got to pick one team that you want to win it and why. So I've got Man City. You've gone for Man City. Why?
Yeah. Why? Because if we win every game and Liverpool win every game, then Liverpool win the league. So it's not in our hands. So if Manchester City beat them, then we've got the opportunity to beat Manchester City.
What about what Julian says is that they're that momentum team, aren't they?
They are.
They're that momentum team. They'll know. They'll then know. They'll also then know that if they beat us,
that's at least you've got that option. Liverpool have got a far easier running than us and Manchester City.
Have they? I looked at the runnings.
I think that they have.
They looked at the runnings. I looked at the runnings the other day. They're all pretty even.
And they've got Manchester City at home, Tottenham at home. Are their 2 games in the top half? They've got
to go away to Everton.
Away to Everton, which is always
there's tricky games in there for
there
all
is
of
tricky
us.
games in there
I think I'd agree with you. It's pretty even. The only thing I've got this issue with Liverpool winning is I don't think they're as good a team as Manchester City. I really don't. But the luck seems to be with them. Other than that Spurs game, everything seems to go their way. I mean, last week that drop ball decision, it was just outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. And if they continue with that type of luck, and that's what it is, it was luck. That game could have gone either way, and it went on. I know you can say that it wasn't directly from that, but it was only about 90 seconds
Oh,
later,
it was
the
a
ball was in
game
the back.
changer.
It was a game
It was a game changer.
because Forest get the drop ball, they play it back into the area. They're on the attack. The difference was Liverpool were on the attack, and that there's only one way to describe that, other than the incompetence of the referee. It was luck, and the luck just seems to be with them. And that's my biggest fear of Liverpool. Not that they're a better team than City and they're a better team than us, because I think what we proved when we beat them, and we comprehensively beat them, was we are a better team than Liverpool at the moment.
I think we are.
But the luck that they've got is you can't compensate for that.
So you'd rather... Who would you rather win then?
I'd have to go for...
You've got to go for one winner.
I'd have to go for City, but it's so marginal. It's so marginal. Yeah, I'd have to go... If I had to pick
the
one,
thing is, if Liverpool win that game, it'll be 10 games to go or 9 games to go, and it's not in our hands. 10 games. It's not in our hands.
It's a lot of games.
Yeah.
It's a lot of games.
But do you want City having that momentum? You know what they're like. They start to gather up a head of steam, right? And they've gone away to Anfield and won.
We can stop that.
That starts to look ominous, innit? You know what I mean? Go away to Anfield, win. Haaland, De Bruyne. You know, then they know if we come there, beat us. They're starting to look home and dry. Well, not home and dry. There's still a lot of games to go.
Yeah,
but
if they beat us, then you think fair enough.
Yeah, I do think that. I think like Man City's next 3 games are in the league are Liverpool away, Arsenal at home, Villa at home.
Villa, yeah.
So now, look, if they were to win all those 3 games, you have to turn around and say, well, that's the 3 teams in the top. That's the 3 teams in the top 4. If they was to beat every one of them, you're going to have to say to yourself, well, all right, fair play. That's what champions do. Teams that win it, but. On the other hand, it's when like Arsenal come there. You know, really, I see what you're saying, because if Liverpool were to beat them,
would you then rather Liverpool win it, and sort of, you know,
if I've got a choice, if Arsenal can't win the league, I want Liverpool to win it.
I want Liverpool to win it, but no, I don't. No, that's wrong. I don't want Liverpool to win it. I just want Man City to lose it more.
Yeah, I don't want Man City winning it. I don't
want Liverpool winning it. Obviously, it's
people say I'm not bothered by Man City and whatever. You know what I mean? I'm not even going to watch the game. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not.
You're not going to watch Liverpool Man City?
No, I'm not. I'm out for Mother's Day. Like, you know what I mean? So
you said.
Very good. Yeah. So
I'm inviting my mum round to watch the game.
Yeah, that's very nice.
That's a very Julian thing to do.
I don't watch Man City in the Champions League. I don't watch them when they get their games at this moment in time, because I'm not. They're
boring?
No, I just don't. I ain't got no time for them. I ain't got no time for Man City.
What's the reason? Because they're boring.
I don't.
Are you bored by them?
No, I don't like them. I don't like what they've done there. They've gone about it. I don't like what they do. They don't, as a football club, they do not impress me like Manchester United, Liverpool, teams like that. You know what I mean? Them and Chelsea do not impress me as football clubs. You know what I mean? Like that's because
it's obvious, isn't it?
It's obvious, why, isn't it? Like, you know what I mean? I'm not.
They win everything.
Yeah. Well, they win everything, but like, you know what I mean? Like Manchester City never won a thing in my time when.
Times change, isn't it?
And the money comes into it, like, you know what I mean? So listen, let's see what happens.
It's not organic, is it? They haven't. There's been a gradual rise.
I'll be really honest about it, like, you know what I mean? Is everybody going mad about Chelsea being 10th, 11th in the league? Not really. When we was 10th or 11th in the league, everybody's going mad. Who's getting talked about more, Chelsea or Man United at this moment in time? And who's in crisis more? Man United, because why? They're a bigger football club. And the same for it. Like, you know, if Manchester City get relegated, are you going to lose any sleep over it?
Yeah, I've been laughing so much.
There you go. but no, you know, they've never been, you know, like this massive football club ever.
But they are emerging now.
They are emerging. They've always been a big club, but they've never been it. But for me,
the amount of youngsters at Sport City, because of the success.
Yeah, of course. But that's, and I get that, like, you know what I mean. But they'll never be bigger than Man United. In my eyes,
next
never.
10 years, they keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Are Chelsea bigger than Arsenal, in your opinion?
Yeah, but no.
They've been doing it for 20 years.
But they have grown massive Chelsea. Yeah, they've got a massive support around the world.
And here's
with
where
what they've done.
Here's where I'll agree and disagree with you. What you said was they'll never be bigger in your eyes, which of course they won't. In my eyes and Robbie's eyes, exactly the same.
But you're talking about younger generation.
Yeah, and that's because we're all in our 50s and we've grown up with them. Neither of those clubs being a big club. But if you were just growing up now, you wouldn't know about Arsenal and Man United and Liverpool dominating. You'd only know about City and Chelsea.
I got in yesterday. I got to say this, and I've put on the TV. A Minder was on, right? And
I love
he was at Terry McCann was at the Chelsea game, like, you know what I mean, like, and it just reminds you me, like, God, that's what Chelsea were like, you know what I mean, like second division,
electric fence and the dog track
empty stadium, like car park, big running track round it. That's how I remember Chelsea, like, you know what I mean. And listen, I'm not no, I think that, you know, Manchester City have got great players and whatever, like, you know what I mean. But at the end of the day, I always look at it and think, like, yeah, well done to you. But it never, like, if Liverpool were to win the league, I would think, wow, great, because they do it the proper way.
Okay.
And that's how I feel.
Do you know, I ain't giving my opinion.
Yeah. What would you want?
Obviously a draw, as you guys both said, because a draw, you know, just brings everybody back into that bunch. But when I think about it, even a draw, whatever, we still have to beat Man City, right, when we go out there, or not lose to Man City. So a draw would be perfect, because then a draw would be perfect, and if it wasn't a draw, City win. When I think about it, a City win. Because then, like you said, the only option then we're going to have is we have to go out there and either get a draw against them, which again, the pack would be still tight.
Still, virtually the same if we get a draw.
Virtually the same. Or if we get a win, it's advantage Arsenal. But I do still feel there's quite a long way to go. And I just get the feeling that maybe this season, because there's 3 teams going for it, you're not going to get all 3 of them just winning all the way down. I don't know. I just got that feeling this season. But certainly, it's such a hard one, right? Because there is the thing that Man City, they're that momentum team, man. They beat us. Right, they beat Liverpool. Now all of a sudden they know what they got to do against us. Beat Arsenal, and it's starting to look like they're going to do it again. Then everybody else starts to think, you know what I mean, doubt themselves. So, but I guess it would have to be City.
The other thing is that the 2 teams that are going to have a big say in this are Aston Villa and Tottenham, because we've all got to play them.
Yeah.
And as it stands at the moment, because I've done my research, like, you know,
You've done well.
Thank you. Is that 5th place isn't good enough to get Champions League football at this moment in time.
I think it is likely to be that.
No. It was saying the other day, Arsenal got to get to the Champions League final, or Liverpool, or someone's got to get to the Europa League final, because we're not in it at the moment because of Man United and Newcastle going out. So it's not guaranteed at this moment in time.
It isn't guaranteed.
So
but you'd have to think: is it likely for an English team, not just ourselves, to get to the final, which I think it is?
Yeah, so but it might it may not happen. You don't know in European football. So them 2 teams are fighting it out for 4th and 5th now. 4th guarantees you it. You know what I mean? So, and Aston Villa and Tottenham, we've got to play them. So there's a massive, and I think that's a good thing as well. So Aston Villa and Tottenham need to keep their form going, just so that because, you know, people are going to me like, well, Spurs, you know what I mean, are going to go up. Spurs are going to go to Anfield and they're going to throw it against Man City. But when they come against us, they're going to be all up for it and all that. They're professional footballers. They want to play in the Champions League.
They've got a lot to play for.
They've got a lot to play for. So I'll admit, if they were halfway down the table, it'd be a little bit more of a worry. But they're not. You know what I mean? That's the one good thing about Spurs being relevant this time around is that in the past we've gone. Do you remember, like, when it was us and Man United playing and all that?
They just threw it, didn't they?
They just 5-0 up, 4-0, 3-0, and even like losing 3-goal leads. But when against us, we'd go there and get a draw at White Hart Lane. You know, so I do think that Villa and Aston Villa and Spurs
You're gonna have
a lot to say in this. Yeah,
you've led it nicely into what I wanted to talk about next, which is the Champions League. I think a lot of people are forgetting Tuesday. right? It's a huge game. These are some huge weekend and following game for Arsenal. Then after that, there's no games for a couple of weeks because the Chelsea game's off. But huge game against Porto.
Massive. Porto
1-0 up from that first leg. We were at the game. We were all very disappointed with Arsenal's performance. Of course, it was that last minute, Sickner, that great goal by them that got them the win. This is a big game for Arsenal. Basically, if they don't win the game, they're out of the Champions League, right? And I'm looking at the team so far in the Champions League this week, and I think it's a good opportunity to go far in this tournament. There are great teams left in it. Obviously, the teams I looked at over this week, City looked the strongest by far. But even Real Madrid didn't look as good as they normally did. PSG, obviously Mbappe there. Bayern Munich got over the line. They turned around a 1-0 deficit, by the way. It can be done. But this game is absolutely massive for Arsenal. And Porto have been doing all right. They beat Benfica, one of their huge rivals, 5-0 at home. That would be the equivalent of us beating Liverpool 5-0.
Yeah, but
that would be the equivalent. And before you jump in, don't come jumping in saying Benfica or Burnley or these are top sides. I mean, Benfica are above Porto in the league in second place.
Get your word in,
right? You're going to get your word in, but Benfica in second place in that league, right? And go for the title. And they got beat 5-0 by Porto.
Yeah, Benfica only had 10 men.
Doesn't matter.
Well, it kind of does.
Still got beat. No, they didn't start the game with 10 men. They went down to 10 men. They got pumped 5-0.
Yeah. Okay.
He didn't tell us that on Monday night, did he? That was down to 10 men.
We probably hadn't done the research, had he?
No, but to me, that makes no difference because
that's
if you play a team, and we've seen lots of teams go down to 10 men, and they still don't get beat 5-0. They sit in deep and stuff like that.
No,
they have beaten a team that's going for the title in Portugal 5-0. Forget even they're down to 6 men. They did it. It's as a direct result of their play that they've lost a man and gone down to that, and they have smashed them. It's a warning.
It is a warning, and I have retracted that I do think that Porto are a better team than Burnley.
That's very kind of you.
They're a very good team.
They are a good team. Now, I was still confused of how a team, and I looked at Porto before, and their form wasn't that great, and I did expect Arsenal to beat them and beat them well. And I was very confused of why that didn't happen. And Lee said that I made a good point, and he remembered it because I don't make many. And I'm not saying you don't make many good points, but this particular point that you came up with, I thought was excellent. And you said it was because it was a two-legged game and Arsenal didn't know whether to stick or twist and how to play that game. Whereas in the Premier League, you just have to win. Now, this game on Tuesday is a one-off game, and I still think Arsenal are favourites. It's not a done deal. Am I as confident as I was before we played them in the first leg? No, of course I'm not. But then when you look at the last 3 games we've played against Porto, we've beat them on aggregate by 11 goals to nothing. So yes, they have done well
in the UK.
In the UK at Arsenal. So they are different teams, but the way that Porto set up, I don't think lightning's going to strike twice. I can't see Arsenal playing that badly. And also, as you quite rightly pointed out, the circumstances are completely different for this game.
I think I'd be very worried for this game if that away goal rule still
100%,
stood, right? 100%. But that away goal rule does not stand. So now it's just a matter of going out there and winning the game, innit?
I don't think Arsenal would have played that way if the away goal rule was about, by the way, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We're in for a very, very long night if it's still 0-0 at half time. We've got to blow and get early, couple of early goals. The Bayern Munich game was interesting because I think it's a similar sort of thing to that. And then they got 2 quick goals and that changed the whole... That was it.
Yeah.
And that's what Arsenal got to do. If they come out, fire, bang, bang, it could be an easy night or a short night. But I've got a feeling it's going to go... I think we're in for a late night. I really do. I think it's going to
go to extra time.
I think it could well do.
We all remember the Sporting game.
Yeah.
where
I think that
Sporting, took it to penalties and won, and we don't want to get to that situation either, do we?
No, and when you go back to that game, it's a good point that you make there, because we was there and we come back in 2-2 and we just thought, well, that's now 4 minutes is done. So maybe now this one here, you know exactly what you got to do. You got to win the game. You got to win it well. And I think that this game, we have to win this game, because one, we ain't got a game till the Man City game after. We've got to dwell on a major setback.
Yeah.
Two, I do think that there will be doubts and talking about Arteta and everything like that because of what's happened in Europe before this and all that. Like, so I believe this is a massive, massive game for us to just get over the line. And I honestly going to say it now, if we can get through Porto, because I do think everyone expects us to beat Porto, like, you know. I still think then we can enjoy the competition afterwards, because we're not going to be favourites for the next round. But I think we're more than a match for any team in it. And with that thing, a little bit of pressure off, this is where we should expect to win this game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and the other aspect, from a fan perspective, is that we're undoubtedly going to get one of the big European teams. All right, Porto is the kind of team we could play in the Europa League, but if we go into the quarterfinals, we are more than likely to get one of the big hitters, and that for me is like we're really back in the Champions League at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a huge couple of games coming up for Arsenal.
Both at home, which is a big thing as well.
As a matter of fact, 3 huge games, because, even though we're not playing in that game on Sunday's huge for us as well. Yeah. It's going to be an absolutely huge week, and we're all really looking forward to it. And at the moment, everybody's buzzing for every single Arsenal game. I want to get into some comments, right? Because we were looking through the comments and we thought we'd take a look at some comments of the week. Before I get into that, I've noticed the whole show. Are you comfortable there? Like, no. Why is your feet not on the ground?
Well, I'm comfortable on the sofa. It's just the angle that it's at that I have to look at you.
Why can't you, like me and Robbie sit down, we're touching the floor on this side. Well, why can't
Why is your feet not touching the floor?
Why is your feet not touching the floor?
This foot is touching the floor.
Yeah, but why not?
It's got the other one touch the floor.
What is the matter with you?
It's not matter. I just my legs.
So you sit normal.
My legs just aren't quite as.
Have you got short legs then? It's not having a kid.
Your feet can't touch the ground.
Well, not if I lean back. If I sat forward, but these are so comfortable. These sofas that I like to sit back.
What's your inside leg? Do you know what your inside leg is?
No. I am 6 foot though. On Tinder.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie, right? The amount of people that came up to me, right, and they said, "Listen, that thing with the medals last week," they said they were in absolute stitches, right, with you and you and those medals that you pulled out last week, which 3rd division, 4th division. I mean,
there wasn't no 4th division in there.
Well, it was in reality, isn't it? Because you see,
there's Premier League,
okay, well 1st division, 2nd division, 3rd. It's the 4th division.
Yes, all right, I'll give you that.
You did used to tell us that the standard of football you played was high.
It's all relative,
isn't it? Says you're 6 foot, Robbie, so there you go. So now we know he's lying,
No, look, I was really pleased. I read through the comments, and it was a real novelty to be liked, I have to say. It was there were some really lovely comments, and it was good that people found it entertaining and funny, and I'm happy about that. But it wasn't supposed to be.
This comment here, this comes from LSK2387. He says, the crossbar challenge on a cruise. He goes, are you having a laugh, Julian? He says, it's probably a mini goalpost, laughing emojis. And he says, I've got to love this guy. I couldn't stand him in the first few times that he was on. But I saw him on the channel and he's slowly becoming my favourite.
Oh.
Although there
that's great.
There was a further comment from a car mod who says, I can't stand him, but I give him those first 5 minutes with the medals was so funny. then unfortunately he resumed to normal service.
Well, the first thing I have to correct him on, it wasn't 5 minutes, it was 8.5.
But I'll tell you what is great about these shows and doing
you
all these
were
things we do about these shows is that you get to see a little bit more of the personality and everything. You just see from maybe a fan cam and like whatever, and you do see what you know, he has a good personality. And he's the straight man of it. And listen, I've not laughed like that for a very, very long
I watched
while.
it about 10 times. It kills me
The
laughter.
best comment I had, and I don't know the fella's name. I went through the comments. It said like, this episode is, you know what I mean, comedy gold. Or should I say silver? You know what I mean? Like, it's absolute quality. Like, I tell you what, there's some funny people out there. You're not just the only funny one out there.
Yeah, no,
Comedy silver.
But as I said, look,
absolutely brilliant.
look, I'm happy that people enjoyed it.
What are you doing now?
I'm going to read. It was my turn to read the comments, but I just put my glasses on to read them.
Go on.
Well, you only got to do one.
Well, I've got.
Well, you got.
How many comments you got?
I've
How many
got.
comments you got, Fred?
There was, I think, 458 comments, and I'm not going to go through the whole lot, but.
This is where we got these beds, isn't it? Like, like, you know, come on, like, let's get our feet up and have a little
but the
doze.
point, the primary reason I went, you know, got the trophies out, because I wanted you to both appreciate that I've played football and that I do understand the game.
But it's a very low level.
But it's still
4th division, you don't really understand the game, do you?
Yeah,
Because basically you're crap.
No, I don't. And also,
sorry, I don't mean that.
No, and it's also of the Jewish league, like, you know what I mean? So it's only Jewish players allowed to play in it, you know what I mean? So
it's a limited league as well.
It's a limited league, and he's in the 4th division of the Jewish
but
league.
we got into the 3rd division, didn't we?
No, he got into the 3rd division. So it ain't all that.
Actually, I never considered that. So that is true, isn't it?
So it ain't like, you know.
It's not the highest standard of football. I do appreciate that, but I don't know if when you play, you've played at a slightly higher standard than I have.
Slightly? You're taking the mickey out. Slightly?
But relatively, that we both know people that have played at the highest level and that have played for Arsenal. And we've both spent time with them. We haven't just sort of just grabbed them for a few seconds. We've both spent time with players that have played for Arsenal. And it always intrigues me to ask them the question of what is it like to play for Arsenal? What is that feeling to be able to play for Arsenal? And when they describe it, it's exactly the same feeling that I got from playing the 3rd division of Maccabi League. Whatever standard you play at, it's kind of all right. So you can play in front of 100,000 at Wembley and score.
3rd division of Maccabi League. It's the same as playing for
One
Arsenal.
man and his dog is the same. Like,
but in my head, I remember going up to take a penalty. And even though there was, I don't even think the dog was there, but there was one man there, it's probably the sub or the linesman.
Pressure.
I just still felt the same as if I was taking a penalty in the last minute at Wembley in the cup final, because it's football.
And I'll say I'm going to agree with him to a certain degree there, because like, when you speak to those players and you're in the dressing room, the banter and everything like that is very similar. But, you know...
You're going to agree with him?
No.
The 3rd division of the
Maccabi
League,
like,
right?
In the dressing room,
it's the same as playing in the Premier League.
In the dressing room, it's the same sort of thing.
The same feeling.
The same in the banter and all that. But when you come out, you know, like there's a tunnel and there's a crowd, there's a stadium, there's lights. It's slightly different.
TV cameras.
But in my head, there still was. When I was taking that penalty, there was hundreds of thousands of people.
Did you score?
Yeah, of course, they did. Top corner.
Yeah, no evidence of that.
So he didn't hit the crossbar, like.
No, I didn't hit the crossbar. So just getting back to the comments.
Right,
so the first one did make first one. It made me feel good because it's good to give people pleasure. Matuba M said, "I will always come back to the first 8 minutes of this video whenever I'm having a terrible day," which it's a nice feeling to know that you've entertained people.
That is good.
But my favourite comment, someone that actually did get it, Hamza Shahzad 1970 said, "Julian must have been good to get that many trophies." 1 like. Won't tell you who that 1 like was.
That's you, like,
we know that 1 likes from.
Yeah. No, listen. If you should be proud of your trophies, and I get that. Like,
Listen, football is a sport that's played at many levels.
Yeah.
Right, and the main thing is about it, right, is that people playing football, even though we're taking the mick a bit, right, I do respect
anybody.
the fact that, you know, anybody goes out there at a weekend, this weekend, whether you're Division 4 or Premier of your grassroots team, right, you're still playing and you're still, you know, keeping fit, you're still enjoying the game. It's not just about, you know, football's not just about the Premier League or the Champions League.
Yeah, exactly.
Football's about playing football at all levels.
With your mates. And
so, you know, we may be taking the mick a bit, but, right, we do respect it.
And hopefully it don't come out where because you are right. I've got a lot of admiration for players that perhaps not that good, but still turn up and play their games and whatever, like, you know, for whatever standard. And, you know, I have to.
Yeah, and it must be amazing being you that in your 50s you can still play. And I'm jealous. I'm jealous that it's the one thing I miss, and I've sort of immersed myself in Arsenal. I've always been infatuated with Arsenal, but part of it is living my dreams through them, because I do admit now that my career isn't going anywhere. You know, that's it.
We could have told you that.
Yeah, no,
we could have told you that 30 years ago.
He's actually given up on playing for the Arsenal, but not Sheffield United. Like,
we could have told you that 30 years ago.
I could have told him that the first day kicked the ball. Like,
oh, man. Well, listen, we're coming to the end of the show today. I want to say a big thank you once again to Emma Sleep. Loving these sofa beds. They've been brilliant. Thanks for bringing you this. They brought you this episode of Invincible Podcast. And don't forget to use the special code and you can get an extra 5% off their Easter sale, which is currently on, and we are going to be able to get up to 40% off their Easter sale and an additional 5% off if you use that code. They don't just sell sofa beds, they've got mattresses, toppers, duvets as well. So get involved right now. Click the link in the description. Guys, it's the end of the show. Big weekend for Arsenal. Let's hope we get the job done against Brentford. Get a favourable result on Sunday, and then on Tuesday night, huge game in the Champions League. Can Arsenal win that and then progress through to the next round? And like Julian said, some really tasty games there await if we can do that. So come on, let's do this. Arsenal playing well at the moment. Why not?
And
thanks very much, guys.
And happy Mother's Day to all the mums out there for the Sunday. Hope you get spoilt, and because you deserve it.